G'day everybody. Today I have something very interesting that I want to talk about with you all, and that is the weird and wonderful world of the Generation Select series. More specifically though, the special comics. Now, for those of you who have never heard of it before, it is a Japanese series that is primarily set in a universe long before the original G1 world, called the Precursor World, with Optimus and Galvatron from the year 2011 being dragged into this time for a mysterious purpose. This story features a lot of characters which are conveniently a part of Takara's contribution to the Generation Select toy line, hence the name. For the purposes of this video though, I will be primarily focusing on the events of the special series, and I'll talk about the spin-offs and the other related series in other videos, because this video will probably be long enough as it is. It is also likely that my interpretation may be different from yours, and I may get some stuff wrong, but that's the fun of doing things like this. Also, I will be using the Japanese names for certain characters as they are so named in this series, like Convoy instead of Optimus, but I think you'll catch on pretty quickly. So, there is a lot of ground to cover, and it's probably best for me to take you on the journey that I went through without any context. So let's go through the Generation Select series. So, let us start at the beginning and technically the end, depending on how you look at it. In 2011, after the events of the original G1 series, Convoy and Galvatron are transported into another dimension known as the Precursor World by a mysterious being who we will soon learn is the great Primus of this era. The two leaders are shown the future and deaths that soon await them, but before they have a chance to react, a world that resembles Earth is attacked by a mysterious alien swarm. Being gifted with the power of the Silver Matrix by Primus, Convoy is able to use its power to take on his future form of Star Convoy from his future series in Battlestars. Unlike Galvatron, Optimus does not fear his death and combines his blaster with the Silver Matrix, forming the Big Bang Cannon, destroying the invaders and saving the Earth-like planet as Galvatron goes a bit cuckoo in the corner. So that's that. The day is saved, Primus sends them both home, and we return to the present as we know it. Right? Unfortunately not. As you see, this short comic is going to be something that we will need to come back to as we understand who the entity was, where they are, and the true reason as to why Primus summoned them here. So just sit back, relax, and let's check out what the Seacons are currently up to. With the Seacons, we should first jump to the end of the Master Force era in the year 2020, as Turtler and the Seacons are at their lowest with their final defeat against Jinrai. Then, Half Shell, leader of the Seacons from the Beast War 2 era, arrives, offering a way to save his moldmate and his army, especially since Half Shell's own crew had been on the brink of death from a deal gone bad. Being gifted with a robot mode, Turtler teams up with the pirate as they collect a disgraced Galvatron. Together, they offer him a deal to have a power-up mode like Star Convoy in exchange for Unicron's Anglemoy energy that is coursing through his veins. Also, I hope you like the word Anglemoy because you're going to be hearing it a whole lot throughout this entire series. Half Shell plans to use this energy to restore his crew back to normal, but first decides to test it out on Turtler, powering him up to a form stronger than he has ever been before. We then cut to Convoy flying through space now, tasked with a mission to gather all the star powers into his Silver Matrix, as together they can rival the forces of creation and allow him to defend both this realm and his future. He is quickly interrupted with a blast from Turtler as he sends out a Gulf to destroy him. With the Silver Matrix, he combines into Star Convoy and destroys the Gulf. So Turtler decides to send out all the Gulfs to destroy him. Now pressing the advantage, Turtler makes his move and combines with the Gulfs to form Gulf Mode King Poseidon. Convoy tries to disrupt this combination by targeting his arms and legs, but having foreseen this, Poseidon summons more of his army and replaces his damaged Gulf arms for Kraken and Lobclaw. On his ship, Half Shell congratulates his moldmate for his success with the Anglemoy energy, and claims that with this, they are finally close to the future that their master desires. With one frame left, Galvatron begins to glow, while on the ground Convoy is able to heal himself with Anglemoy's star power being drawn from Galvatron as we enter the final showdown between Convoy and the Sea God. With the power up, Convoy uses his reflections shield to disassemble the Combiner, retreating to a nearby blue planet. Realizing that there are sentient beings there, Convoy sends his trailer to look after the wounded, but becomes subdued by Tentacle as Turtler claims that he has been buying time so that his army could be reborn once more. The Seacons, together again, transform into their robot modes for the first time and obliterate Convoy before forming perfect mode King Poseidon. In this powerful combined mode, they badly wound Convoy as they explain their feelings for being the runts of their era, but now have a chance to be true kings. Refusing to falter, Convoy explains that true power comes from protecting something that matters, and that if they only revel in destruction, they will always just be a pawn. With the power of the Matrix, he is healed once more. At this point, Convoy might as well be Wolverine or Armada Scourge with that heal factor. King Poseidon realizes that if he had that Matrix, he may finally have revenge on God Jinrai and unleashes a breast attack for a chance at the Matrix. The comic ends with Half-Shell admiring the king's tenacity, but what is a king to a god? Reviving his crew, he boasts about tricking Galvatron before he bursts out of confinement and begins to reformat himself as he is resonating from the power that Convoy has been receiving. So as we enter the Super Megatron arc, or as I like to call the 4 phases of Megatron, we first get to see that Primus had retrieved Convoy and Galvatron from a battle with Unicron to seal him in the Triple Z point before he can restore himself. To be honest, Unicron is only number 4 on the most dangerous characters in this series, as we have some pretty big hitters that will soon reveal themselves. Also, rip to thrust. We then return to the blue planet with Convoy trying to reclaim the Matrix as King Poseidon is struck down with a blast from the sky. Half-Shell's ship is seen crashing into the water behind them, and emerging from the wreckage is Super Megatron, a form from the Battlestar series in the distant future. Wounded, King Poseidon demands to know what he did to Half-Shell, as we see Half-Shell crawling towards his crewmates' bodies before being blown up in their ship. King Poseidon converts to full target mode and fires on Super Megatron before being destroyed in a single blow. Turning his sights to Convoy, the two battle over possession of the Silver Matrix, resorting in Convoy using the only weapon he has left, the Matrix itself. Turning the tides, he transforms into Z-base mode and wounds Super Megatron, forcing him into the city. Megatron grabs 2 natives of the planet and threatens to eat them unless he hands the Matrix over. Complying, Super Megatron now evolves into Ultra Megatron and obliterates Convoy in his new Ultra Tank mode. Back, or rather forward in time, prior to their first arrival on Earth, we see Convoy reminiscing in the Covenant of Primus and the existence of a being who could view the future, Primus. But back in the Precursor World, a figure now stands between Convoy and Ultra Megatron, that being none other than the badass Blue Big Convoy, who leads the Order of Blue and a part of the Primus Vanguard. Blue summons his Blue Order to attack Megatron, and we can see a lot of memorable faces amongst the crowd. Although confused, Megatron unleashes a devastating attack on the Order as Blue has Chief Straxus scan him for vulnerabilities. Also, keep a close eye on Straxus, as I have a feeling that he will become a very important player in this arc soon. It is here that we learn that the mysterious entity that initially attacked the blue planet and was vanquished by Convoy was none other than the Volk, who have been a persistent threat to their universe. Blue gives his Alpha Matrix to Convoy to heal before using it to battle against Megatron with his Silver Matrix. Unfortunately, Blue is overpowered and has his Alpha Matrix's energy become consumed into his own. Evolving once more, Megatron becomes Ultra Megatron Omega, a form in a distant future where he is driven insane by the buildup of negative Anglemoy energy within him. Megatron opens his mouth and prepares to strike the Autobots, but the attack is stopped by the Precursor World's Primus, who was the one who brought both Convoy and Galvatron to their world. He explains that this world exists before Convoy's, and that their G1 world will be born when the Precursor World is destroyed, which is what the Vok attempted to do to reset the failed experiment in the future Beast Wars. Amongst the chaos, Megatron launches an attack on Convoy, but it is stopped by King Poseidon, who survived Megatron's blast and unleashes the Seacons on him to get the Matrix and to avenge Half-Shell. Together, King Poseidon and Convoy battle Megatron as we see a new player enter the fray, Primacron. He states that when all of the star powers are gathered in the Silver Matrix, it can be used to destroy this world and become a god in the next one, as we see that Half-Shell may not be as dead as we first assumed. Now we enter into the God Neptune arc, where we finally get to meet the Primus Vanguard. So with Blue's Matrix now sapped, Primus warns the other Warriors of Light about Megatron, and for them to protect each of their lights for the sake of their universe. As you can see, we have White Gallant Convoy, Green Tender Convoy, Red Sentinel Prime, Yellow Splendid Convoy, Purple Wicked Convoy, Black Go Prime, and, well, you've met Blue Big Convoy. Unfortunately for Blue though, they have been betrayed by, you guessed it, the Straxus twins. Twins? Yes, the Straxus twins. The reason that there are two is that one represents Hasbro's rendition, while the other is Takara's, both of them for the Generation Selects toy line. Anyway, they explained that they had implanted a rage virus into the Blue Order, causing them to destroy each other. All because the previous leader of the Blue Order, Lord Brightus, chose Blue over them to lead the Blue Order. Resisting the rage virus, Blue uses the last of his strength to take his own life before he is able to strike down Convoy. Chief Straxus takes Blue's Matrix as a souvenir, while Director Straxus pledges their allegiance to Megatron, leading him to the other members of the Vanguard. Then, a battered Turtler washes back ashore and is praised by the locals for his bravery against Megatron, leading to a very adorable panel of Turtler. With many of the Blue Order now dead, Primus carries their sparks into his arc as he explains that he was the one that led Megatron to this planet, before noticing that Blue's spark is nowhere to be seen. Turtler also realises that the pirate Seacons are now missing, as we pan over to each of the different worlds of light, with each of the Seacons trying to claim the individual matrices for themselves. We can see White go up against Half-Shell, Sea Phantom against Green, Terramander take on Red, Skylar and Yellow, and Sea Lagon against Go Prime. Meanwhile, Purple gets a visit from Megatron and the Straxuses, and after some deliberation with the Shockwave Council, decides it's best to team up with Megatron. Back with Primus, he explains that Half-Shell was able to survive due to their experimentation on Anglemoy energy, which in large amounts can allow the user to have godlike powers, change forms, and even resurrect the dead. Primacron then storms in and states that the Anglemoy energy was his creation, and that Primus brought it to their era when he summoned Galvatron from the future, before revealing that Primus's true name is the Oracle. Having each plundered a matrix from the different worlds, they combined to form God Neptune, being powered up with 5 of the 7 different star powers, just as he intended. Don't worry, we'll find out who he is in due time. Taking a brief step back in time, we follow along White Convoy as he goes about his day until he is alerted of the battle on the Blue Planet. He is astounded by how gallant G1 Convoy is, and White realises that he must be the future version of himself after he dies in this universe, stating that if his future self is to fight without shame, then so shall he. Confronted with the Megatron Purple Straxus alliance, they battle against God Neptune until Straxus uses Blue's Matrix Sword against him. The attack may not have worked, but inside the Matrix Saber was a portion of Blue's spark, with the spirit taking the Matrix Buster and turning it against God Neptune. Knocked down, Black, Green and Yellow Convoy arrive and hold Neptune still, as White, in his Grand Prime mode, makes his way to strike the Combiner down. White contacts Convoy and tells him that watching him risk his life gave White the strength to fight such a fearsome foe. However, God Neptune is able to slice him down in the last second and proceeds to kill the rest of the Vanguard holding him down. Focused now on Ultra Megatron Omega, God Neptune is about to strike, but Megatron, who had been charging up in Purple's trailer, releases a blast powerful enough to separate the Combiner. In one last desperate attempt, Half Shell reaches out to Turtler for help, but before he can, Megatron replays footage of Half Shell on his ship, exploiting Turtler as nothing but a guinea pig to revive his crew. Feeling betrayed, Turtler denies the cry for help, leaving Half Shell back to where he started, battered and broken with a near-dead crew. We see a flashback that shows that before the Seacons got involved in this war, they were defeated by a deal gone bad until a mysterious benefactor, known only as Servant, offers a chance for his crew to be revived if he does as he says, and takes the young Lobhammer as collateral. Hearing his story, White Convoy, who had placed part of his spark into Half Shell's sword, urges Half Shell to give him his strength to protect his crew, and together they are able to strike down Megatron before he has a chance to unleash the Silver Matrix's power, and are able to combine again due to the healing nature of the star power. Despite being literally split in half, Megatron drains energy from the Straxus twins, and with the help of the Matrix is able to be reformed. Megatron states that his new form is what caused the Earthlings to be banished from Earth in the future, and evolves into Megatron Omega Perfect Form. In the final bit of this arc, Primus explains that his plan is to destroy Primacron's ambition by calling the Primitives.
Come all primitives.
Alright, now I've thrown a lot at you in a small space of time, but now we get to head into the distant future to learn about the Transformers of this era just prior to Primus calling to the Primitives. We learn that the Primitives he has called to have come from the year 2050, where in this era the Autobots and Decepticons have reformed their alliance, allowing peace for the last decade. Because of this, the humans and Transformers have been able to prosper after the discovery of Anglemoy energy underground, which was teased at the end of the United series. With it, they were able to create the Selectors, who would become the new workforce for humanity. I can only imagine how terrible this dynamic is going to go down. So, the Selectors are led by Rung.
Is this an orange little dweeb?
Who understands that they are nothing more than slaves, and confronts Megatron as to how humans are acting no differently from how the Quintessons first enslaved the Transformers. Unaware of this rising rebellion, Convoy arrives at Neo Scramble City and questions the morality of using an energy from Unicron as a power source to Spike, Carly and Professor Hitotanari, who are some of the leaders of humanity. Prime even shows some concern for Selectors being used for walls and floors, but puts up little fight as Spike dismisses him, stating that they wouldn't have been able to prosper without this energy. All of a sudden, Hound reports a time warp occurring on Dinobot Island, and responding to this message, Grimlock gathers the Dinobots as well as the two newest members of the gang, Slash and Grimmaster. Now for those of you who are unaware, I was very excited to see Grimmaster, as he is none other than the former Decepticon Kakuyu of the Dinosaur Force in the Victory series, who traded sides to become a heroic but very clumsy Dinobot combiner. So the time warp then opens up before them, and released are the Quintessons. The Dinobots are quick to retaliate, however the Quintessons unleash the Recreator and once again bring life to the powerful Predaking. The Quintessons then proceed to boast about how their Predaking is a slave because of his low intelligence, as he proceeds to stomp Grimlock. However, in the last second he is saved by Grimmaster, who thanks Grimlock for accepting him into his ranks before being crushed beneath the giant. At the brink of defeat, Grimlock hears the voice of the Oracle, telling him to tap into the Anglemoy power hidden in the earth. With this power he creates the Magma Blade, and uses it to fly, separating one of Predaking's limbs in the process. In retaliation, the Combiner grabs Slash, forcing the Dinobots to combine into the Great Volcanicus, and is easily able to slay Predaking. However, before Volcanicus can turn his anger to the Quintessons, Spike calls the Dinobots, as we find out that the Selectors and Decepticons have now joined forces, calling for the freedom of the Selectors. And not only that, but Carly was critically injured in the revolt. During this call, the rebellion is quickly brought to a stop as the Autobots stand in the way of the Decepticons, pleading with them not to start the war again. Megatron explains that this is not a war, but a revolution, necessary for the humans to see the Selectors as equal life forms, and even turns Convoy's famous "freedom is the right of all sentient beings" speech back at him. To be honest, this was a topic I did not expect to enter into when I first read this series, but I loved the way that they did it, as we see that by standing alongside the humans, Optimus is standing against his beliefs, and what Megatron is actually proposing is not violence, but simply for the humans to respect the Selectors that they have given life to. Ultimately, Convoy decides that Megatron is right, as we see that Autobots from around the world are being called to him to grant freedom for the Selectors, as well as for them to have their own independent nation on Earth. We then cut to Rodimus and the Technobots, who are conflicted by the news, with Rodimus even asking Computron as to whether humanity stands a chance against this revolt. The answer is 0. However, if the Dinobots side with humanity, then their percentage is, well, we'll soon see. Becoming the last defenders of humanity, the Dinobots ready for battle, declaring all Transformers as their enemies. And I suppose at least Slag is now finally happy. But boy is it a fight. We see Slag disarming Cliffjumper, Sludge trapping Trailbreaker, Swoop defeating the Rainmakers and then Skyfire, Snarl going head to head against Megatron, and Grimlock going up against Shockwave. Convoy finally arrives on the scene and challenges Grimlock directly, begging him not to fight. Grimlock doesn't care though, but his attack is stopped short as we learn that the Dinobots have safety devices installed that prevent them from taking lives, although I wonder how well that's worked in the past. Rung overhears Convoy's conversation and is shocked, stating that in this case the Dinobots are just as much slaves to the Autobots as the Selectors are. Grimlock tells Optimus that despite not being smart, they still deserve freedom, and that they are choosing to side with Kali and humanity because they don't discriminate. Convoy realises the error of his ways, but before anything can be done, Skylink survives to stop the Dinobots once and for all. It is now that we learn that Computron predicts that humanity has a 90% chance of winning if the Technobots team up with Grimlock, as they could never betray their father. Together, they combine into Volcanicus and restore Grimlock's superintelligence that he gifted to the Technobots. Volcanicus then separates and paralyzes Skylinks with the Scattershot Electropulse Cannon. Volcanicus then claims that with his new intelligence, he will be able to find a peaceful solution to the Selectors' revolt. However, we discover that Spike, in fear, has been talking to the Quintessons and makes an uneasy alliance thanks to the guidance of the Great Mother Computer, who said that the revolt was always inevitable. In agreement, the Quintessons released the Transformer corroding gas over the battlefield, allowing the Transformers 3 minutes to live as mysterious warriors fly overhead. So, as it turns out, these warriors are none other than the Terracons, who have allied themselves with humanity and the Quintessons. However, their mission is now to destroy all Transformers and Selectors. Volcanicus does not ruthlessly fight back, as he is now the super-intelligent version without his beastly spirit. We witness Hunger consume a Selector before converting it into a Slitherfang who are loyal to the Quintessons through the use of Anglemoy energy. Spike, mortified as this is not what they agreed on, witnesses a loyal sound barrier be converted before his very eyes. Realising now the horror of his ways, Spike asks the Quintesson how they could possibly toy with life so easily. The Quintesson simply states that slaves are just possessions of their masters, and that if they are not punished, humans will be driven from the planet like the Quintessons were. As we return to the battlefield, we see Red Alert and Inferno under attack by Rippersnapper. The double-crosser Selectors protect the Autobots just in time, but are quickly captured by Cutthroat and fed to his Tyraxodon babies. Aww. Blot is next seen fighting against Orthia and forcing her out of her combination. This is due to the fact that Blot's exposure to the Anglemoy energy allows them to secrete more of the corroding gas that was used on them earlier. Finally, we see Sinatwin capturing the sparks of the fallen Selectors and inserting them into Hunger and his Hell Spark. The Quintessons then explain that with the Terracons' help, they intend to cyberform the Earth and create a second Unicron to conquer the universe with. Spike stands against the Quintessons now, claiming that they should have shown love to the Selectors, and that they may have been able to come to a peaceful resolution. In response to Spike's claims, the Quintesson shoots him down, since he had outlived his usefulness anyway. Spike asks in his dying breath why the mother computer would side with the Quintessons, finding out that it too runs on Anglemoy energy, and since it resonates with people's hearts, the Anglemoy energy has become corrupted, just like when it was Unicron's monstrous will. Megatron has had enough now, and plans to do whatever it takes to put a stop to the Quintessons, even if it means absorbing the evil Anglemoy energy from the Terracons into his own body. Convoy fears that this much exposure would turn Megatron evil again, but Megatron just states that Convoy will just have to be the one to put him down. Being drained on energy, the Terracons combine into the abominable Abominus. However, Megatron is now evolved into Megatron Omega. Unamused by this, Abominus simply grabs Megatron and shoots him at point blank as Anglemoy energy begins to erupt from the ground. In their escape, Rodimus is hit with a blast of Anglemoy energy and becomes Rodimus Unicronus. We now return to a dying Spike who is found by Rung. Rung explains that he was pleased to hear what Spike had said to the Quintessons, and that he should have also shown respect to his human creators. Spike asks Rung if he could do one last thing, and that is to carry him to his inheritance. Computron is now able to retrieve his knowledge back from Volcanicus, and teams up with Superion and Defensor against Abominus. However, the trio was struck down with a single blast, but with their last living limbs, they are able to recombine into Comperion, the ultimate expression of scrambled technology. Sent flying by Comperion's attacks, Abominus crashes into Bruticus and Menasor, reconstructing himself into Abominaticus, doing battle now for the sake of good and evil. It's also really cool to see the Scramble Combiners appear. You really don't get to see them much, and I definitely just want to focus on the Scramble Combiners in a separate video. From afar, the Quintessons eagerly watch the battle unfold until Rung and Spike, who is now in the body of Neo Autobot X, attack, marking the unification of the Selectors and humans, as we now watch as humans and Transformers all around the world once again fighting side by side. X performs an Energon Enema on the Quintesson, which is something I never thought that I would say. With this, X intends to kick the Quintessons off planet so that the Anglemoy energy can return to normal. However, the evil corrupting the energy has come from humanity itself. Having absorbed too much Anglemoy energy, Megatron Omega goes on a rampage as we see Convoy falter and killing his friend, being shot by Megatron and dying where he stands. Megatron intends to drive the humans off Earth as well, and to take all the energy for himself. However, Abominaticus, who became Abominus again, claims that he should be the one to rule, not Megatron and not the Quintessons. X realizes that Megatron may be right, and that maybe humanity should leave the Earth to prevent the Anglemoy energy from becoming too unstable. Through the reconfiguration matrix and the surrounding Anglemoy energy, Convoy is revived once again, and now remembers that in the past he was transported into another universe which may give them the answers to this crisis. As Abominus and Megatron now do battle, we see as Megatron is able to overwhelm the Combiner, and incidentally knocks the control unit off Abominus, releasing all the souls of the Selectors. Just before he is destroyed, Volcanicus steps in and blocks the attack, hoping to take down Megatron with their combined primitive might. Using the last of his Anglemoy energy, Abominus is able to decapitate Megatron. Not that it keeps him down for long. Convoy arrives and quickly tells Volcanicus and Abominus that a warp hole will soon open, and that they must go through it and find a way to save Megatron before it's too late. And right on cue, Precursor Primus's call is heard by the Primitives, and they go to answer his call. Meanwhile, on Planet Z, Atlas, Sonic Bomber and Roadfire have been able to gather all of the pieces of the Zodiac, creating a new silver matrix. However, just as it's created, they are attacked and a mysterious figure retrieves the matrix from the ashes. that being Precursor Primus alongside his servant and his Golden Age army, stating that he is now able to complete his grand design.
Oh my dramatic god.
Quite a twist, I know, and a lot of lore to process in this one. So before we move on, let's quickly recap. So, Primus brings Convoy and Galvatron to his time during their battle against Unicron, giving Convoy a silver matrix in the process. We learn that Convoy was brought here because he had the power to defeat the Vok, while Galvatron was summoned because he is imbued with Anglemoy energy. After destroying the Vok, Convoy is tasked with retrieving the 7 star powers to protect the Precursor universe, while Primus's envoy tasks the Seacons with gathering them as well in return for their captured crewmate Lobhammer. The Seacons in their quest also pick up Galvatron and use his energy to repair and boost Turtler and Half-Shell's own Seacons. The Seacons then incidentally power up Galvatron into Super Megatron, continuing to evolve until he reached Ultra Megatron Omega. We then begin to meet Blue and the rest of the Vanguard, who are betrayed by Straxus, as Primocron begins to plot from afar. Half-Shell's team then steals 5 of the matrices and only requires the blue and purple star powers, who are currently allied with Megatron. God Neptune proceeds to kill most of the Vanguard before being defeated and humiliated in front of Turtler. Half-Shell is then able to defeat Megatron with the help of White Convoy, as Primus declares a stop to Primocron by calling to his primitives from the distant future. So, as we head into the 2-part finale, we can see that we have many sides in this conflict, with Primus being revealed as the puppeteer behind almost all of the events that have taken place in this series. Are you ready now? If so, let's just jump straight into the endgame of this series. So, the finale begins by summarising the events that I previously mentioned, and reminds us that should the bearer of the Silver Matrix bring together all 7 star powers, they would be able to destroy the Precursor universe and make the G1 universe as they see fit. In the first act of the finale, we head back in time within the Precursor World, long before the arrival of Convoy and Galvatron. We see the Straxuses and Blue gathered around the dying Blue Brightest Convoy, who with his last breath passes the mantle of Blue onto Blue Big Convoy, as the Straxuses watch on in jealousy. We then see Yellow informing Primus of his death at the hand of the Spectres, as we learn that the Spectres are the shadows of the Vanguard and can only be defeated by the light from their matrices. Blue demonstrates that the Spectres can be obliterated with maximum output from their matrices, and together they discuss the possibility of unleashing all 7 matrices at once, vanquishing the Spectres and uniting their 7 coloured universes into one. As we return to the Precursor present day, we see the blue planet begins to shake as Primocron makes his escape. Grimlock takes chase, but is stopped by Primocron's assistance, giving him enough time to transform the planet into Neo Primus. Primocron intends to use Neo Primus to destroy the Precursor universe and create a universe in his own image. Months prior to this though, the Vok are seen attacking a now unified Precursor universe. Assembling the Vanguard, Primus is told that the Vok have come from the future, and Go Prime suggests using his Legend Disc to see into the future to learn about the Vok, but warns Primus that doing so comes with great risks. Desperate, Primus takes the disc and locks himself away to view the future. After seeing the future, he consoles his pet Primocron, explaining how the Vok are the evolved form of the Spectres who will continue to come back in the hopes of changing the future. To his surprise, Primocron speaks for the first time and informs Primus that he feels no fear in hearing this, as this confirms that whoever can destroy the Precursor universe will rule the next one. So simply, the answer is for him to destroy it first before the Vok can, stating that with the power of the Anglemoy energy he has been extracting from Primus, it can be done. Fearful of this, Primus realises that he saw Primocron in his vision of the future, confirming that Primocron will eventually be the one to destroy the Precursor World and create the G1 universe we know. Primocron is then able to escape, with Primus calling his Vanguard to hand over their matrices so that he can destroy this universe before anyone else can. Seeing Primus as nothing but a madman, all of the Vanguard abandon him but Blue, as the Vok send him a warning that their time has come. Afraid, Primus consoles the great G1 on what to do, and soon realizes that he must use the vision that he saw of the future to gather beings from that future to retrieve the 7 lights for him. Back in present Precursor time, Star Convoy and Turtler begin to rescue as many natives as they can as Neo Primus is transforming. The Terracons now arrive through the portal, bringing along Blastoff and Dead End should they need to form Abominaticus again. Grimlock tells Hunger to head inside the planet and consume all of the Anglemoy energy before Neo Primus can reach the Silver Matrix and the 7 stars, which were currently in possession of Megatron and God Neptune. Megatron combines with Purple into the Omega Hand, but are stopped by the intrusion of Lobhammer, who shoots Skylar and combines with God Neptune, possessing him under the influence of Primus's envoy. So, with all of the key players now assembled, Primus declares that the one to rule the next world must not be Primacron, as Convoy realizes that he is from the future that was created by Primacron. Primus asks for Convoy to put his faith in him, as the universe that he intends to create will be beautiful and will even allow Convoy to escape his destined death. Obviously, Convoy refuses, as he states that he does not care that he will one day die, so long as he is able to defend the lives of both this world and those from the future that Primacron creates, intending to defend the freedom of life itself. Primus expected this outcome, stating that this is why he had Convoy defeat the Vok in the first place, and revealing the Silver Matrix that he stole from their future. As it happens, the Silver Matrix that Convoy has been in possession of this whole time was the Precursor World's first Big Bang that merged the 7 worlds, now being nothing more than a husk of limited power. Primus orders his Golden Age army to restrain Convoy as he takes his rifle, claiming that he will showcase the true power of the Big Bang cannon. Taking matter into his own hands, Primus orders the Primitives to stall Primacron as he separates Purple and Megatron. Primus engages in a great battle, but ultimately destroys Megatron with the new Big Bang cannon and absorbs the blue star that Megatron stole. He then orders the possessed Lobhammer to pour all of their star powers into the Neptune sword and give it to him, using it to stab it into Purple's chest and claiming Purple's matrix as his own as Purple shatters into pieces. Now with all 7 star powers, Primus destroys the Precursor World, marking the end of the first half of the finale. Holy moly, what a trip this first half was, as we witnessed the reason behind Primus's madness, so much so that he would even kill Purple just so that Primacron does not create the intended G1 universe. But that's enough pause, let's see what actually happened. We see Primus awake in darkness and is greeted by the one he feared most, Primacron. Distraught, the Oracle is awoken within the Matrix and is placed inside a robotic ape to act as his new assistant, as we have seen from Primacron's first appearance in the TV series.
I do not like this.
He explains that the only things to make it through to the next universe was the Matrix and Primacron, and that all the sparks that the Oracle had planned to bring over on his ark were futile, as no matter how much you change the universe, life will always persist. Using the Matrix, Primacron has the Oracle bring life to the inhabitants of the old universe so that he can create his new army, eventually creating Unicron himself, who immediately turns on his master and frees the Oracle from his servitude, fleeing to a planet in the centre of the galaxy. However, he is quickly stolen by the early era of the Quintessons and sealed into the globe that would become Vector Sigma and controls him with the Matrix. They force him to grant life to their machines, who would eventually become the Transformers. We relive then the takeover of Cybertron and the birth of the Stunticons, forever to live as a tool to be used by others until Cybertron and the Oracle are eventually destroyed by the war, allowing him to finally be free. Obviously, what Primus saw was the intended G1 universe using the Black Legend disc, before being suddenly paralysed by Primacron and declaring that he will make the Oracle his, destroying his golden body and revealing his true form as an energy being comprised of Anglemoy. Defeated, Oracle begins to accept his fate of being nothing more than a tool, before the spirits of Green, Black and Yellow arrive, stating that if it is true that Primacron creates the next universe, then it does not mean that he can lord over this one. While Primacron is distracted, Red Sentinel Prime lands next to Oracle, who had been reduced to his headmaster form after his encounter with Terramander. Red, having heard from Black about the future, tells the Oracle that he is the only one who makes it to the next universe, so he must fight his fate and destroy all of the evil Anglemoy energy with his own righteous energy. Red then combines with his new Transtector body, becoming Burning Red Sentinel Prime, and begins to attack Primacron. Hearing Red's words, the Oracle begins to accept his fate and fight for justice, as Purple's Popsicle transforms into a reborn Purple Wicked Convoy, who had hid a second body in his Popsicle. He tells him that this is what the Vanguard is all about, explaining that he had only pretended to work with Megatron in the hope that he could persuade him into realising his future. Concerned by the change in plan, the Envoy calls out to Oracle before he is seized by Megatron, who intends to become a god. Purple tries to talk to Megatron and have him accept his fate so that this universe and the next can be saved. Unfortunately, his pleas are ignored, as Megatron drains the Envoy of his golden power, becoming the all-powerful Gold Megatron. With his new golden power, his first act is to use the future Silver Matrix to create the Megatrons of the Seven Lights, otherwise known as the new Primus Vanguard. So, as the two purples go head to head, Convoy and the Golden Age are attacked by Black and Red Megatron. Oracle then demands for Golden Age Beast Wars Soundwave to give Convoy a portion of their power, becoming Gold Primus Convoy, and the two Golden Warriors then do battle. In the confusion, Neo Primus is able to grab the Silver Matrix until Volcanicus arrives to defeat him again. He is blasted away, however he is found by Hunger, who has been consuming Neo Primus's energy, using it to empower Volcanicus's blade and crippling Neo back into his planet mode. The group begin to celebrate, but Hunger is struck down by Black and Red, and in order to protect the natives of Blue against the Megatrons, Turtler combines with the Decepticons of the future to create King Poseidon Scramble 7, firing back at the Megatron duo. God Neptune then arrives, with Lobhammer no longer being possessed by the Envoy, and offers his help to his begrudging moldmate, showing the true might of a god and a king. Away from the battle then, we see the Straxuses find Lord Brightus with the old Silver Matrix. However, he quickly reveals himself to be Blue Megatron, firing on the twins and delivering the Matrix to Gold Megatron. With both matrices in his hands, Gold Megatron combines them both into the Gold Matrix, which will allow him to merge the past, present and future with him as their sole god. We return to the G1's future, with Megatron Omega growing and consuming the erupting energy of the planet. Convoy believes that if this is Megatron's final form, then this must also be his inevitable end. And of course, from the shadows, we see that the one to stop Megatron is none other than Leo Convoy, who has come from the distant future to protect planet Gaia, which is what Earth will eventually become. Leo asks for the Selector's strength and powering him with their righteous energy to become Green Leo Convoy. A showdown then ensues as Green Leo uses his Lion Typhoon to separate Megatron from the evil energy in his body. Destroyed, all that remains now is Megatron's spark, which has been purified by the righteous energy and given a mission from the wishes of the future Vector Sigma to go far into the past so that they can save their future. Before Gold Megatron can unleash the Golden Matrix, a beam of light enters Green Megatron, revealing himself as none other than Megatron from the distant future. Green Megatron then proceeds to grapple with his past self and asks him if he fears the future and that he does have regrets himself, begging Convoy to shoot him. Defeated by White and Yellow Megatron, Star Convoy uses the last of his power to pierce Gold Megatron's armour, reverting him back to Galvatron as the last of the Anglemoy energy leaves his body. Convoy then asks Oracle to take them back home, as Green Megatron wishes them farewell. Returning back to 2011, Unicron has now completely rebuilt himself and defeated the forces of the present. Convoy uses the Oracle to fire on Unicron, telling him that he is the one that he fears most, and as righteous Anglemoy energy, he will protect the lives of his world and the inhabitants of Primacron's future. So with Unicron now forever sealed in the Triple Z point, Oracle promises to wipe their memories of the Precursor universe and return everyone back to their proper places in time, as he realises that he was arrogant to change the future and that he will accept his fate so that he can fight to keep all life safe from the evil Anglemoy energy. Returning to the year 2050, the Anglemoy energy has stabilised, but realising the danger of the energy, humanity and the Selectors plan to head to Mars before finding a new planet to make home. Earth would then be erased from all records and eventually become known as the mysterious planet Gaia in Beast Wars 2. For the last time, we head back into the Precursor World, where we learn that Primacron would soon disappear and peace would return to that universe. However, we discover that the Oracle and Blue Big Convoy's Matrix Sword are now in the possession of the Straxus twins, who plan to dominate the universe with their new subjects. Beast Wars Soundwave then proceeds to watch in horror, but claims that the will of Primus will live on as we meet the new generation of the Primus Vanguard, including Purple Wicked Convoy, Deadlock, Green Megatron, Magna Convoy, Burning Red Sentinel Prime, Giaxus and Drift. The end. What a series. So, with that, we've finally completed the Generation Select Special series, and boy did we go on an adventure. From Voc to Seacons to coloured convoys and even a Megatron from the distant future. This series went in so many directions that I didn't expect. This was such a fun read and even gave me the same excitement and suspense from my Homestuck days, like being in anticipation of each event and what would happen next. Now, for those of you who know this series, you would be aware of the Legends series, the prequel, and the spin-offs that all tie in around this genre. However, they will need to be separate videos for another day. Either way, I figured that before we end this, we go through some of the random things that I skipped over in this series. The first coming from Seacons number 5, where Convoy explains that he misses Roller, who was apparently lost in the Unicron War of 2005. However, Roller may be closer than he thinks, because according to the Legend series, Roller dies helping the Battlestars and is reborn into the trailer that allows Convoy to become Star Convoy. And being from the past, Convoy wouldn't know this, but since he is using the body of the future, it may still not technically be Roller, but either way it's interesting to know. As you may have noticed, the natives of Blue are cat and dog people, with one of the ones almost eaten by Megatron to be Loon. She is seen throughout the series as well as the Legend comics prior to this, but most notably for noting that Convoy calling himself Commander Convoy is essentially saying Commander Commander. I mean, that's just adorable. Gigastorm also gets a quick shout out from Half Shell, and we see that in the future, Anglemoy Energy is able to cure Wheeljack of his memory loss due to the events in the Legend series. At this point, I should have just made a video on the United and Legend series first, but since we're here, we'll take it one step at a time. During the Selector Revolution in the distant future, we see coverage of all the riots in TVs across the world. We can thank Rain Dance and Grand Slam for that, as we see them reporting live from the battlefield during Abominus' rampage. Now, the last thing I wanted to bring up was the new Primus Vanguard, as you may notice some familiar faces like Alternity and Binaltech, G2, Animated, Reverse Convoy, Predacon, and Siege Megatron. Green Megatron, however, is based off of Transformers Prime Ratchet. You see, when I was looking into Transformers Go and bought Judora, it came with one of those poster catalogues, and on it was a green figure that I didn't know. Looking into it, apparently in the Beast Hunter period, Ratchet is captured after invading a Decepticon lab and is injected with Dark Energon, converting him into a Decepticon. Now that is something I would have loved to have seen in the show. Regardless, I think that's almost everything covered. There are definitely things that I've missed and parts that I've misinterpreted, but either way I had a lot of fun reading this, and hopefully this will excite you all to check it out for yourself. And before I go, I have to make a special thanks to those who had translated this series and made it available on sites like TFWiki, as well as this commenter who helped suggest that I talk about this series. Thank you all so much. Now, I'm going to look into a little fan game based around the Transformers Armada series, which I think will be a very interesting video. So, I will see you all later. Bye bye.